Spirituality. What the hell is spirituality? Everything seems to be matterish. Where are the spirits? I don't know what I'm talking about. But since we're already here, let me try anyway. You see, everyone seems to be on a spiritual path these days. Usually this happens when we are on the brink of losing something very important in our life. At some stage, we all have that moment where we just feel like giving up everything. When the husband or the wife is asking for a divorce, losing our job, a death in the family, a business gone bankrupt, like we feel there's no point in going any further. Like maybe it's just better to stop breathing completely. If we really think about it, there's something so peaceful about death. Like when we are dead, we no longer need to deal with any of these problems. And this is where spirituality comes in. Spirituality is like committing an inner suicide without physically taking our own life. Anyway, a short disclaimer here. I'm not endorsing mass suicides at all. Inner suicide is completely different. It's like we're still living in this material world, but deep inside, whatever happens, happens. Because we have already experienced death, so to speak. Many of us in the spiritual circles call this the ego death. That's spirituality for me. That's why I've been doing daily meditations, emptying the mind and the like. I've enjoyed it a lot. Because to stop thinking is like this state of pure empty awareness, which is total freedom from any mental position. It's like I have gotten rid of some of my beliefs about myself and how the world works, and I can totally start again with a clean slate. That's what we'll get with spiritual practices. We'll no longer be identified with anything. If you have a family, it will kind of break your identification with them. And then you'll no longer be afraid of losing them because you stop identifying your happiness with their presence or the lack thereof. Or if you think of yourself as a respectable individual in society, that's actually a huge burden. Like nobody really wants to maintain that kind of image all the time. There's no chance for you to be silly in public. You have to say the right words, maybe kiss somebody's ass, whatever. But with these spiritual practices, you'll no longer be identified with that image of respectability. You just won't care, and all you would care about is to be yourself. With that comes a huge amount of relief and freedom. Or if you have a self-image that says you're undesirable, or not good enough, or not smart enough, these spiritual practices also help break this pattern of thinking. Because ultimately, a self-image is something that you keep saying to yourself over and over again until you really believe in it. You can stop identifying yourself with being not good enough, which was actually imposed on you by your environment, and which is totally not true. That's what spirituality can do for you. However, don't go running into the mountains just yet. There's a small caveat to all this. Have you ever come across a spiritual master who only talks about emptiness and nothingness? The main difficulty with spirituality is its complete emptiness. Like once you start getting into the habit of doing these spiritual practices, reading spiritual books, and absolutely gobbling down this spiritual content on YouTube, soon you will reach a point where you would say, "F reality. Nothing really matters." The cycle usually goes like this. First, you realize that death is inevitable. Then you say to reality, you don't freaking exist. Before long, you will be furious at everyone close to you, your family, your friends, the society, because you have been brainwashed for years into living, acting, behaving in a certain way that's never actually meant for you. Then you will experience a great sense of freedom that you've never felt before. Well, until a feeling of isolation and alienation start creeping in. Because you're so free and you're living such a different life to the rest of the society that you never truly feel like you belong. Congratulations! For the first time ever, you're now a free individual and no longer a mere byproduct of the society. But the spiritual journey doesn't end there. It's true, nothing really matters in the most absolute terms. If all of us die in the end, What's the point of all the striving and the struggling? If death takes everything away eventually, why bother doing anything? Then, after months of taking some vacation in some faraway oriental countries, usually in the name of rediscovering yourself, you return home, still feeling empty and disconnected with reality, not knowing what to do with the rest of your life. Then you begin to waste away your life on the couch, stop looking for a new job, start getting into alcohol, stop having a dream. You'd say, what's the point? Stop working hard because hey, I'm a spiritual guy, I don't need money. The universe will somehow take care of me. And yet at the same time, deep down you realize that even though you have been more spiritual, you're just not the same person as you used to be. You are actually more vibrant and happier when you were living the so-called busy material life. If you're now at this point, don't worry. It's what everybody on the path needs to go through. It's just you getting a good grasp of what nothingness is like, that life's actually pretty damn meaningless and empty, that everything turns to dust in the end anyway. This could take a while to sink in. And yet, in spite of all this, we are already here in this big blue planet. Why not make the best use of our time and fill it with, as Carlos Castaneda puts it, a controlled folly, which is the art of being immersed in the actions of the world while pretending that they matter in the bigger scheme of things. Actually, emptiness isn't such a doom and gloom concept at all. Life completely devoid of meaning and significance is kinda great. You can actually put your own spin on it. It's like when you want to paint something but are given a canvas that's already been painted on by someone else. Obviously, you wouldn't like that, and you would want to erase everything and begin with an empty one. Perhaps until now, you've been living a life that doesn't have you written all over it. Perhaps the career you're in was actually forced upon you by somebody else. Perhaps the city you're living in is actually pretty damn distasteful to you. Maybe the wife or the husband you are with right now is not who you actually want to spend time with. And spirituality is just a chance to write a whole new chapter in your life. Sure, the new blank page staring back at you could be terrifying. The seemingly endless interval between your old life and the new one, between the old understanding and the new, is in fact the dreaded emptiness that everyone is universally avoiding. I mean, it's the sort of thing that leads people into all kinds of addictions. Drugs, alcohol, pornography, television, video games. But let me assure you, once you start typing in the first few words, you would begin to gather more courage as you go. Obviously, the spiritual path is gonna be full of challenges, people questioning you, judging you, criticizing you, blaming you. That's just the price of being a free individual. And yet the challenge is not to find an escape out of all this. It's navigating your way through these obstacles while still maintaining your center. That's it from me.